I would like to move on and introduce Doplgenger, our first duo, Isidora Ilić and Boško Prostran, who will give a lecture performance actually, entitled Beneath a Starless Sky as Dark and Thick as Ink. They are artist duo from Belgrade, and they have been interested in relation between art and politics through exploring the regimes of moving images and modes of its reception. They are often relying on tradition of experimental video and film, and they are often intervene in already existing films. So the use of film archives is something which is very present in their practice. They have been exhibited in many different institutions, to name just like Museum Sterle in Amsterdam or Center Pompidou. And then they have films screened in many worldwide known film festivals, such as Rotterdam Film Festival or Castle Documentary Film and Video Festival, and so on. They have also received the Serbian Politica Award for Best Exhibition in 2015. So, Isidora and Boško, please.
Thank you, Irena. We will show you our lecture performance with video. So we are doing it for the first time. Hopefully it will be okay and successful. If there are some problems, please intervene. Radio Television of Vojvodina was part of the Yugoslav radio television, the national public broadcasting system in the Socialist Federative Republic Yugoslavia. It consisted of 8 subnational radio and television broadcast centers, with each one headquartered in one of the 6 constituent republics and 2 autonomous provinces of Yugoslavia.
Archive of Radio Television of Vojvodina in 2015. After NATO bombing of Yugoslavia in 1999, the archive was temporarily placed in Museum of Contemporary Art Vojvodina. At the beginning of 2016, the archive was moved and migrated into flower bags in Novi Sad Fair.
In 2015, we were there searching for images of migration that had been recorded by Yugoslav television.
New images for the new times. How does the production of images participate in political and economic processes?
Niz zemalja u razvoju već je postigao značajne rezultate u industriji. Niz zemalja u razvoju već je postigao značajne rezultate u industriji, ipak njihovi proizvodi ne dopiru na tržišta razvijenih jer ih u tome sprečavaju mnogobrojne carinske i druge barijere. Tržišta razvijenih su manje više širom otvorena kada su u pitanju sirovine i primarni proizvodi.
In the 1960s, Europe was faced with a new type of migration, the temporary economic migration. Yugoslavia joined these processes in the early stage since that was the way to deal with the problem of class inequality, which had been created by the liberalization of the Yugoslav economic system and its approach to market economy. Signing the agreement on employing Yugoslav labor force with Austria, France, and Sweden in 1965, and then also with Federative Republic Germany in 1968, contributed to the fact that more than 1 million workers were employed outside Yugoslavia in 1974.
Sirovine i primarni proizvodi. Mene pre svega interesuje, drugovi, da li se ovde u Hanoveru osjeća podvojenost jugoslovenskih i nemačkih radnika? Znaš, osjećam se kao sam sa stranaca tu, jeli, sam si, kako da se ljudi to objasnili?
Što se tiče, mislim, događaja u Jugoslaviji, što se tiče radnih mesta i tako toga. Mi smo ovdje skroz, po mom zaključku, da smo odvojeni uopšte od Jugoslavije, iako smo uopšte Jugoslaveni.
Da li nam je bolje ovdje na radnom mjestu što je bilo u Jugoslaviji?
Pa što se tiče vlade, bolje je ovdje vlada nego je nešto. Ja sam produktovani radnik i kako je nešto mnogo više da uštava. Se rado vratio u kući koliko bi se bilo.
New images for new times. How does the production of images participate in political economic processes?
When Arab-Israeli war started in 1973, the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries stopped the oil delivery to all the countries that had supported Israel. This led to a drastic drop in the price, which caused a recession in all Western European countries. The German government announced in December of the same year the so-called Anwerkstopp of the termination of employment of foreign workers.
Neodrživost postojećeg međunarodnog ekonomskog poretka oštro se ispoljava i u monetarnom Neodrživost postojećeg međunarodnog ekonomskog poretka se ispoljava i u monetarno-finansijskim odnosima. Uslovi pod kojima zemlje u razvoju dolaze do kredita takvi su da u krajnjem ishodu najviše koristi donose davaocima kredita. Zaduženost, pogotovo teško, pogađa najsiromašnije zemlje.
Yugoslavia entered the year of 1975 with a market deficit, largely due to change conditions in the world exchange during and after the world oil crisis. We tried to resolve the negative trade balance through investment work in non-aligned and developing countries that were therefore indebted to the world banks. More than 10,000 Yugoslav workers and professionals were building across Iraq various facilities worth about $2.5 billion. Workers and experts of the Belgrade Agricultural and Industrial Combined Danube-Tisa-Danube-Tiber system began construction of drainage and irrigation systems on more than 20,000 hectares of barren desert. It was only the fifth part of the big and complex Tuđela project, through which the Iraqis wanted to fertilize parts of Mesopotamia to a forested to changing climate.
Naš zadatak je ovdje na ovom radilištu u uviđaja ili u Iraku, prevashodno preventivni. Imamo i takve aparate s kojima kontrolišemo funkciju zdravlja i radnu sposobnost radnika i u ovom drugom delu ove naše stanice imamo jedan mali stacionarni deo gde u slučaju potrebe možemo da smestimo pacijenta našeg da dobije jednu konkretnu reanimaciju. Ja sam jedan od prvih iz te ekipe kulturnih radnika koji su došli da postavljaju ljudi koji ovdje rade, koji treba da preporade ovdje ogromne prostore i zemlje, koja je sada kao sunđe, koja je sada u koju ulazi noge i koja se vraća posle toga. Neka neobična zemlja, kako niko nije vidio nikad od naših ljudi.
New images for the new times. How does the production of images participate in political economic processes?
Takve zemlje često su izložene i određeni politički pritiscima. Koliko velika zaduženost može da utiče na političku stabilnost u jednoj zemlji, pokazalo se i vlada pritisnuta zahtevima poverilaca morala da ukine subvencije na prehrambene proizvode. Došlo je do poskupljenja hleba i riža. Koji su ozbiljno utrmali položaj vlade.
The Jela Industrial Agricultural Compound has been completed in the period from 1973 to 1987. Irrigation canal systems were upgraded with new infrastructure, including regulations and pumps to distribute water to agricultural areas. And many canals were lined up with concrete to reduce water loss and drainage problems. The government maintained this infrastructure until onset of the Iran-Iraqi war from 1980 to 1988. This neglect continued to the period of UN sanctions, 1990 to 2003. US aid initiated and maintained reconstruction and development activities in 2003 called ARDI, Agriculture, Reconstruction and Development Program for Iraq.
As a rubber manufacturer, Continental AG was founded in 1871 after Franco-German War in Hanover. In 1904, Continental became the first company in the world to manufacture grooved vehicle tires. As the many other German companies during World War II, Continental used slave labor provided by the Nazi Party in their factories in the 40s. Today, Continental is a German multinational automotive parts manufacturing company and one of the 4 top tire producers in the world.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for the lecture performance. I think the image was a little bit delayed. I don't know how was the feeling, but I think it was really nice. And I don't know if anybody has an immediate question. but I would like to ask you to explain the title and to also talk a bit more about why did you bring in from these archives the two different kind of migrations, one being Gastarbeiters going from Yugoslavia to Germany, and then the other one going into Iraq to basically do desert. How is it called when it's reversing desert into the forest?
You mean on a drainage?
Yeah, in that sense. Like, I don't know how to call the right term, but anyway, like going to change the climate basically into Iraq, which was basically also the non-alignment movement. So I would like to comment on this.
Yeah, we started this project in 2015, and we were interested in the images of, as we said, images of migration that also, like, in the history, and especially in the history of Yugoslavia, and it was coincided with the moment of big migration that was going on in the world in 2015, and this discussion, whether that was migration by economic migration or war migration, were they refugees or just people fleeing the country for a better economic situation, and so on. So when we started the researching in the archive, as we also explained in this lecture performance, we were interested in a representation of migration that was done by actual institution like television, and which meant that the state supported, not only supported and organized all these migration processes, but also they informed their citizens about it. So it was completely different at the time. In 2015, it was completely a different way of dealing with the topic of migration and the subjects of immigrants. And we found, and that was actually the most interesting for us, these two kinds of representation and two kinds of processes that Yugoslavia entered in a really like a near period, like only like 10 years from 65 to 74. That was that gastarbeiters were like, how to say, a not educated class that were exported to the Western Germany in order to find the work. And as I said, that was done by the organization and of a state. And the second was actually, let's say, exporting the class of engineers and those people who went to non-aligned countries. In this lecture performance, we used the archive of Iraq and to like help and also in a way sell the knowledge.
Yes, actually it was like middle point of everything was the oil crisis, which we somehow addressed not directly, but mostly through this collage or through just showing the processes. But generally, we mentioned it as a moment when the gastarbeiter project stopped, and in a way, after 2 years after oil crisis, actually 1973, there were no more gastarbeiters. There were only migrants. So you can be immigrant on another level, on completely another, let's say, tag or level, whatever. But you are not just a foreign worker with a contract, because Yugoslavia stopped, let's say, or at least Germany and Austria mostly, but afterwards other countries as well stopped those agreements. So and in the after that, television was making news about foreign workers in Germany and Austria, mostly because of that agreement of their return, because the question was where the people will come back and how the system will answer on that new impact of so many people abroad. And of course, there were so many solutions for that, and mostly, luckily for Yugoslavia, most of them, for Yugoslav system economically, at least for next 10 or 15 years, most of the people didn't come back, so they were just sending money in domestic banks and families and so on. The question was how to reinvest their savings to the Yugoslavian economy. But nevertheless, in the same time, actually, what was the moment or the process television wanted to report was that what Isidora mentioned, that export of know-how and technologies to non-aligned countries, that we were very proud what Yugoslavia, or at least big companies, big infrastructure companies made in our own field, or let's say in this area, wanted to share with other non-aligned countries. And since the middle 70s, this not, let's say, propaganda, but in a way this forcing to show how we can really share our technologies to the third world countries were very important. And the images of were different. So mostly they were not workers, mainly they were not in the focus, but mainly directors and technocrats and so on, that Isidora mentioned. So that was interesting, how images reflected those processes. That was something that we were interested in.
Yeah, and just to add, actually, to answer to your question, the title is the first sentence from Emil Zola Germinal. That is a novel about actually workers and miners, actually people who are unprivileged and going from place to place, trying to find work. And what was also interesting for us, it was that this novel is like in the history of literature is regarded as the first novel that has like collective subject as a main character. So yes, and lecture performance is gathering actually few works that are part of this project.